All right, folks, welcome back. NewsOne Now on TV One. Of course, let's go back to our conversation with Derek Johnson, is the interim president and CEO of the NAACP. Of course, we have Faraji Muhammad, we have Eugene Craig, along with Victoria Burke, and we have Scott Boulder. Okay, and whatever. Okay, gotcha. Okay. All right, stamp it on your forehead. All right. Derek, this listening tour, what is it? What is that?
It's an opportunity for us to be informed about what are the interests of our units on the ground. It's for us to listen to our stakeholder partners on the ground. Public policy is local, and much of what we're seeing is local. As we go into the midterm election, we got to have a huge impact. As we go into the census process, we got to make sure that our folks are not undercounted, because that's going to inform redistricting, which will impact elections for the next 10 years. If we are effective on the ground, we can be at the table and control that process. But if we aggregate everything to a centralized body in D.C., we're not in the game. Our goal is to be in the game, and for us to be in the game, how these processes are carried out in Oklahoma is different from how it's carried out in Oakland, which is different than in Detroit, Michigan, which is different than right here in Baltimore. So that's what we're listening for.
So for a lot of people who don't have any understanding of NAACP and its history, so you're headquartered in Baltimore. You obviously have your Washington, D.C. lobbying office, and then almost 2,000 chapters around the country as well, and then you have your state conferences. And so what is the level of autonomy of your local chapters and state conferences as relates to compared to the national office?
Right, so I describe NAACP governance as a Baptist church. We're congregational led. So we're led from the members on the ground up, unlike a connectional church where the bishop's sitting an edict and people fall in line. So as a result of that, we got to go talk to the congregation. We got to hear from them within the constructs of our Constitution and bylaws, what's most important in Alabama. Because what's most important in Alabama may be different than Georgia, but it's all within the rubric of our game changers: voting, health, economic development, and so on and so on. So those things don't change. How they are implemented, the state and local policies that govern differ from place to place.
And also, I had a conversation about this on the Breakfast Club, and there were a lot of people who were surprised by that. And I said, first of all, y'all got to remember, I said, most people are actually volunteers. I mean, you're not talking about where you have paid chapter presidents. I mean, you're dealing with people who they volunteer to do this.
No, not most. 98% of NAACPers are volunteers. So it ain't even most, it's the overwhelming majority. So when you go to Detroit, our largest unit, with all the members they have, that's all volunteers except 7 people. And we're talking about tens of thousands of people, right? When you go to Shelby County, Alabama, you're talking about all volunteers. These volunteers give up their time and their talents to make sure their communities have a level of voice that otherwise would not exist.
When you say that the problem you think is narrative, doesn't it get more dispersed when you leave it up to the individual chapters? And don't the individual chapters sort of already work on local issues? The other question I wanted to ask you too is, do you think corporate involvement with the NAACP takes the edge off of the activism? Like, you know, obviously Black Lives Matter is able to pivot because they don't have all that. And it's basically very focused on a few issues. And so do you think the corporate involvement hurts the NAACP overall?
Well, let me take the hat on I'm wearing now and go back as the state conference president of Mississippi. NewsOne is one of the largest employers in Mississippi. My focus are the Black workers who work in the plant, not the company. NewsOne bring checks all the time. I don't take them because I'm fighting them. You don't take money from who you're fighting, while at the same time, corporate citizenship is also important. So I don't think the corporate involvement inform our policy. I think what inform our policies are our local units on the ground who decide this is what's in our best interest, and we organize around those things in our best interest.
Brother Jack, how do we make sure that the youth and college division, for example, is not clashing with those who are working on the ground, with those new, young, millennial activists? How do you make sure that a large organization like the NAACP is staying relevant to what's happening for the next generation?
Well, one of the interesting things I've been hearing in terms of this narrative, social justice is not a competition. We all coexist. We need more people. I celebrate young folks protesting in the street. I want more of that. And if they happen to do that under the banner of NAACP, I'm going to support them just like I would support Alicia Garza and everyone else. We have to get out this mindset, is it either this or that? It's all of us at the same time, because the problems are much larger than one organization can address.
Scott?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the listening tour. Your premise seems to be inconsistent with the need for a listening tour. What do you say to critics that say, well, what don't you know that's going on the ground? If you've got these chapters all around the country, what do you expect to learn new that you don't know already? It would seem that being around as long as you've been and having all of these chapters, then it's a simple conversation with your representatives to know what's going on the ground.
Derek?
What do you hope to know about listening through this listening tour that you don't know already?
As a 108-year-old organization, sometimes you have to do a self-examination. Any individual, organization, or institution don't do a self-evaluation to make sure that they are relevant, that they are timely in their responses, and supportive of their units, then they will die. Our goal is to make sure that we as a national body are providing the proper coordination, support, and response needed for those volunteers on the ground so they can be more effective at what they do.
Eugene, real quick.
So here in Maryland, we have a really good relationship with the Maryland Republican Party and the Baltimore NAACP. My question is, what is National doing to bring new, non-traditional partners to the table?
Our door is open. Anyone who walk in the door, take out a membership, can sit at the table. We're congregational led. Join the congregation.
Fair enough.
But I tell you this here, when Rice Priebus was chair of the Republican National Committee and he talked about criminal justice reform, I specifically asked him on this show, okay, so let me know when you want to have a joint news conference with the NAACP when it comes to criminal justice reform. Still waiting.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no.
That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong. He
Unfiltered.
wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.